This is a quick response to a question I got about Unto Deepest Depths, my dark fantasy strategy game. The question was how I handle selecting and moving units on the map. While I am going to talk about units in a future video, the answer didn't fit nicely into what I'm planning for that one, so I'm doing this as a quick one-off. If you've got questions about how the game works, let me know and maybe I'll do another quick video on it. So hopefully you've seen my devlog about the core game loop, as that ties into today's video a little bit, but as a quick refresher, here's my game's architecture. As I mentioned in that video, the bulk of the code in the unit group nodes is for dealing with UI. AI-controlled units just get placed into an array and iterated over on their turn, but player-controlled units need the player to make decisions about who to select, where to move, where to attack, and so on. So let's look at that process a little bit more in depth. When it's time for the player to select a unit, I set a flag that I'm awaiting for unit selection, look up the cells of each unit that hasn't yet taken their turn, and highlight those cells on a map. This could also be done with a mini state machine, but it didn't feel overly necessary here. As this is all event-driven, there's nothing happening at this point, and the group is just waiting for a mouse click, which is connected through the standard unhandled input event. Once a mouse button has been pressed, there's a few different paths the code can go down. Left click and awaiting unit selection, left click when a unit is already selected, meaning that an action should be taken, right click when a unit is selected and the unit hasn't moved, which simply deselects that unit and takes you back to the left click scenario for future inputs, and right click when a unit is selected and the unit has moved but is able to undo their movement, which will undo their movement and take you back to the previous right click scenario, which can then of course take you back to the left click scenario. For a left click action, I need to convert the pixel coordinate where the mouse was clicked to a world cell and see if I've clicked on any units. Getting the pixel coordinate of the click is built into Godot, so I grab that value and then call world to cell on my navigation autoload, which is a custom function that converts a pixel coordinate to a world cell. Snap to tile takes a pixel coordinate and snaps it to the nearest tile, so world to cell simply takes that value and divides it by the tile size to get the cell identifier. As an example, tiles are 16 by 16 in Unto Deepest Depths, so if a click occurred at pixel coordinate 34,3, snap to tile would snap it to 32,0, world to cell would divide those values by 16, and output that the click occurred at cell 20. From there I can check if any unit is occupying that cell. If one is, I mark it as a currently selected unit, ask it to give me its movement options, and highlight those cells on the map. At this point, the unit group is again waiting for a click to occur, and the process largely repeats. Wait for a click, grab its cell, and check if the click is valid. This time though, I don't need to select a unit, but rather check for a valid action selection. As moving and attacking both use the same interface for carrying data, I just check if the player has clicked a valid cell from whatever the list of actions under consideration are. If the click is valid, that action is resolved as appropriate, which is a subject for another day, and the turn continues on. If the unit moved, this process loops over but checks against valid attacks this time. After the unit attacks, its turn is over and the group lets the player select from the remaining units if there are any, or ends its turn. And that's a brief look at how unit selection is managed. If you have more questions about this or other pieces of Unto Deepest Depths, just let me know in the comments.